Chapter 18 of Dow 2004-54, Contingent Liability and Rehabilitation Fund, prepaid by Kaga Maria Elizabeth J. Contingent Liability and Rehabilitation Fund, cognizant of the need to ensure just and timely compensation for damages and progressive and sustainable rehabilitation for any adverse effect a mining operation or activity may cause. The Department, through the Bureau, shall institutionalize an environmental guarantee fund mechanism to be known collectively as the Contingent Liability and Rehabilitation Fund, or CLRF. The CLRF shall be in the form of the Mine Rehabilitation Fund and the Mine West and Tailings Fees as stipulated in the Act, and shall be administered by the CLRF Steering Committee as provided for in Section 193 hereof. Mine Rehabilitation Fund. A Mine Rehabilitation Fund, or MRF, shall be established and maintained by each operating contractor, permit holder as a reasonable environmental deposit to ensure availability of funds for the satisfactory compliance with the commitments and performance of the activities stipulated in the EPEP or AEPEP during a specific project phase. The MRF shall be in two forms, namely, Monitoring Trust Fund (MTF). This fund shall be initiated by the contractor, permit holder, and shall be deposited in a mutually acceptable government depository bank for the exclusive use in the monitoring program approved by the MRF Committee Rehabilitation Cost Fund. The contractor, permit holder shall set up a Rehabilitation Cost Fund (RCF) for a designated amount to ensure compliance with the approved rehabilitation activities and schedules for specific mining project phase, including research programs as defined in the EPEP, AEPEP. A mine reha- the Mine Rehabilitation Fund Committee. A Mine Rehabilitation Fund, or MRF, committee shall be created in each region where active mining operations exist and shall have the following duties and responsibilities: conducts preliminary evaluation on the submitted EPEP and consults with credible experts as may be required to clarify proposals and to discuss the adequacy of control and rehabilitation measures, provided that the MRF committee shall evaluate and disapprove the submitted EPEP for industrial sand and gravel permit and quarry permit. Manage, operates, monitors, and looks after the safety of the MRFs that shall be established and deposited in a government depository bank in accordance with the provisions of these implementing rules and regulations. Resolves issues involving the progressive mine rehabilitation programs that shall be implemented. Hires credible experts to do independent studies and researchers on the environmental, engineering, and sociocultural impacts on the projects in order to assist in it making judicious decisions. Ensures that the approved EPEPs, AEPEPs shall be strictly implemented by the contractors, permit holders, deputizes a multi-partite monitoring team (MMT) to serve as its monitoring arm with the regional office concerned taking the lead role, monitors and evaluates the performance of the MMTs and reports its assessments to the CLRF Steering Committee, ensures that the MTFs and RCFs shall be kept separate and distinct from one another and maintains independent and specific books of records for all transactions of the said funds of each contractor, permit holder. In the absence of fraud, bad faith or gross negligence on the part of the MRF committee or any person acting on its behalf, the said committee shall not be liable for any loss or impairment of the MRFs arising out or in connection with any act done or performed or caused to be done or performed by the said committee pursuant to the provisions of these implementing rules and regulations. Prepares and submits the secretary director within 30 days calendar days after the end of each year. An annual report of accomplishments, including audited financial statements and such periodic reports of activities as may be required, and perform other functions as may be assigned by the Secretary Director. Composition of the MRF Committee. The Mine Rehabilitation Fund Committee shall be composed of the following: Regional Director as Chair, Regional Executive Director or RED of the Department as Co-Chair, Regional Director of the Environment Management Bureau or EMB as member, representative of the autonomous regional government where this is applicable as member, representative from the local government unit as member, a representative from the local NGOs and community organizations including people's organizations, church or civic organizations as member, and representative of the contractor permit holder as member. The Multipartite Monitoring Team. As Multipartite Monitoring Team or MMT shall be deputized by the MRF Committee, as provided for in Section 182 hereof, to serve as the monitoring arm of said committee and shall be composed of the following: representative from MGB Regional Office as head, a representative from Department Regional Office as member, representative from the EMB Regional Office as member, representative from the contractor permit holder as member, a representative from the affected communities as member, representative from the affected indigenous cultural communities as members, and representative from an environmental NGO. Disbursements from the MRF. Withdrawal from the MRF shall be made by the contractor permit holder only with the written instructions to the bank issued by the MRF committee authorizing the contractor permit holder to withdraw the amount from the MRF. The amount to be withdrawn shall be in accordance with the AEPEP and shall be approved by the MRF committee. Copy furnished the CLRF Steering Committee. Any one of the following shall be authorized to issue the instruction to the bank on behalf of the NRF committee: the chair, the co-chair, or the designated representative of either A or B. Final Mine Rehabilitation Decommissioning Plan. For 5 years before the final decommissioning of the mining contract, the contractor's permit holder shall submit to the MRF committee through the regional office and to the CLRF steering committee through the bureau its final mine rehabilitation and/or decommissioning plan, including its financial requirements up to post-decommissioning over a 10-year period for monitoring purposes. The plan shall be subject to pre-evaluation by the MRF committee and to final approval by the CLRF steering committee. Penalties. Failure of the contractor permit holder to establish a mine of rehabilitation fund shall be sufficient ground to suspend or cancel the mining operations in the areas under contracts. Non-submission of semi-annual reports shall mean non-ailment of the exemption from payment of mine waste and tailings fees and a penalty of 5,000 pesos. Failure to comply with payments of the mine, waste, and tailing fees provided under Sections 190 and 191 hereof shall mean a 10% surcharge on the principal amount for every month of delay. The contractor lease permit holder shall be duty-bound to pay for damages incurred due to previously exempted mine, waste, and tailings as described in Section 190 hereof. Payments for the mine waste and tailings generated, which were previously requested for exemption from payment of fees but were denied based on the verification report, shall be remitted to the Bureau within 60 calendar days upon receipt of notice. Failure to comply with the said provision shall mean a 10% surcharge of the principal amount for every month of delay. Composition of the CLRF Steering Committee. The CLRF Steering Committee shall be composed of the following officials or their duly authorized representatives: Director as Chair, Director of the Environmental Management Bureau as Vice Chair, Director of Land Management Bureau as Member, Director of Forest Management Bureau as Member, Director of Bureau of Soils and Water Management as Member, Administration of the National Irrigation Administration as Member. Contingent Liability and Rehabilitation Steering Committee Administrative Fund. The Director shall ensure that adequate budget shall be allocated every year from its regular appropriation for the CLRF Steering Committee and shall be include sufficient maintenance and operating budgets for actual field and travel expenses needed during mine site inspections, cost of in-house and external training monthly, honoraria for members of said committee, cost of supplies and materials, cost of communication services and adequate capital outlay for the purchase of required photocopying machines, computers, microfiche machines, and other support equipment. The Regional Investigations and Assessment Teams RIAT. The RIAT shall be headed by the Regional Director and shall have the following functions: provides advice to interested parties on matters related to claims for compensation for damages under these implementing rules and regulations, provides applications and other related forms to prospective claimants for damages, receives applications for compensation for damages under these implementing rules and regulations. The Regional Investigation and Assessment Teams (RIAT) conducts field investigations and assessments of claims for damages (MGB Form Number 18-3) and submits reforms to the CLRF Steering Committee through the TWG. Creates, whenever and wherever deemed necessary, local task forces to assist the RIAT in carrying out its functions and performs other functions that may be assigned by the Director. Application for compensation for damages. Compensable damages are those damages caused by any mining operations on lives and personal safety, lands, agricultural crops and forest products, marine life and aquatic resources, cultural and human resources, and infrastructure, and the revisitation and rehabilitation of salted farmlands and other areas devoted to agriculture and fishing. Application for compensation for damages. The following are qualified to apply for compensation for damages: any individual in the event of loss or damage to his or her life, personal safety or property; any private owners of damaged infrastructures, forest products, marine, aquatic and inland resources; any applicant or successor in interest for damage to private lands that holds title or any evidence of ownership; any applicant or successor in interest for damage to alienable and disposable lands; any agricultural leases and the shared tenants for damage to crops; any indigenous cultural community in the case of damage to burial grounds and cultural resource. Application for compensation for damages. Application for compensation for damages under these implementing rules and regulations shall be filed in the prescribed application forms MGB Forum Number 182 with the Regional Investigation and Assessment Teams within 30 calendar days from the occurrence of the damage. Application should be supported by the following documents: proof of ownership, such as tax declaration, perfect land titles, homestead, and free patent. It should be understood, however, that tax declarations shall be honored as proof of ownership only for the purposes of compensation under these implementing rules and regulations. Receipt expenditures for improvements made in the affected property, and other requirements that may be required by the CLRF committee. That's all. Thank you for listening.